there's so many people that are sometimes trying to reinvent the wheel, where it's like, oh, I'm going to try to go find this new way of doing things. When in reality, it's like, no, just learn from somebody that's already doing it. Like
Exactly.
that's the whole point in real estate hasn't changed. I mean, yes, technology has advanced, social media is great, but social media is just a way to leverage your business. When in reality, it's all about relationships and those 5-star reviews and giving an incredible experience to your clients. And so, over your hundreds of transactions you've done with investors, what would you say has been your biggest key to an incredible experience for your clients and growing that relationship to continue to expand your business? I appreciate you hopping on, man. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sending out the invites. Yeah,
I appreciate you
absolutely.
making the time. Well, before we jump in, I obviously just want to hear about you and kind of your story, and that way I can just kind of know more about you and kind of where you're at. So tell me a little
Sure.
bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I guess depends on how far you want to go back. Overall, like quick clip notes is grew up an athlete. So started through middle school, high school, played every sport you could think of.
Cool.
And then went to college to play baseball, got a health and exercise science degree. So I started working for a strength and conditioning facility. Then I went on to do personal training. Um, then COVID hit. And so
Mhm.
in 2020, everybody got sent home. I was working from home, still training clients, whether it be in my garage or at their home. I worked with some higher end clientele. I don't know, do you guys have a Lifetime Fitness?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I worked at what was called the Diamond Club. So it was like the headquarter of our region. So it
Oh,
was
cool.
hiring clients, bigger budgets.
Yeah.
Um, and so from there, I actually made the transition out of the health and exercise science field, went into real estate, worked for a mortgage lender actually here in Michigan, United Wholesale Mortgage, so the number one
Yeah.
wholesale lender in the country. Worked for
That's our
UWM.
preferred lender here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going that way. It's leaning that way here too. A lot of loan officers like to work with them. Obviously, realtors too because of the speed.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I went that route. Worked at United Wholesale Mortgage. Then I got sent home. One of my coworkers next to me got sent home with COVID. The whole team got sent home, and I was like, you know what? But I've been self-educating my basically through like high school, college on real estate investing.
Yeah.
So was like, you know what? Let me get my license.
Cool.
While I was working from home, basically studied for the 2 weeks, took the exam the second week, passed it, went
Nice.
back to work, got a promotion, um, and was only there for 2 weeks. And I put my 2 weeks, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the jump,
Cool.
and went full swing real estate agent, and been doing that since.
Wow. So to get a full recap, you went from athlete, exercise science, lending, real estate. That's kind of your path.
Correct. Yep.
That's insane. So, um, tell me a little bit about your journey in real estate. Because obviously, if you started in what was that, 2020 is when COVID hit. So it's
Yep.
been about 2 years or so. What has real estate looked like for you since the beginning?
Yeah. So primarily working. I mean, obviously, we know the market since 2020. But my business is primarily made up of investors. So
Cool.
myself and my team, we work with a lot of in-state, out of state, and then in the country, out of the country investors as well. So
Mhm.
most of our business is made up of investors, whether it's first-time investors, advanced, very, very well-known, well-established investors.
Yeah.
Um, Primarily we work, I mean, most of my clients are first time investors, people who, just like everybody else, self-education, listen to the YouTube videos, listen to the podcasts, reading the books, just haven't made that
Yeah.
jump yet, can't do it in their own market, so needed a different market where the numbers work, and
Yeah.
here we are.
Cool. That's amazing. So you're the guy helping people build financial freedom one property at a time for their first investment. Just because to get this right, you're in the Detroit area, correct? That's your main
Correct.
market.
Correct. Yep.
Cool. So numbers are a little bit better there. You're helping people buy their first investment. And how have you built this pipeline? Tell me a little bit about your numbers because I know people are going to be interested. You
Yeah.
sold over 120 something properties last year, right?
Yeah. Yep. So just over 120. Um, I came into it, and one thing that I recommend to most people that ask me as well, who are looking to get into the industry, is not only to find a mentor, but also I found the success that I did largely because of the team that I joined.
Cool.
So my team, Fire Realty Team, stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early,
Nice.
is what the FIRE stands for. And so, they had a book of business that that was already occurring, and my team lead Joe already had a book of business. At the time that I joined, there was only one other agent, and then I joined as the second agent.
Nice.
And so Joe basically was, he still did some really close clients that he had are like family and friends, but
Yeah.
everybody else, he was very open book about, Nick and the other agent on my team, this is your guys is to grow.
Cool.
And so that did come, that database was there. And then it took referrals and then just retaining that business. Obviously, we
Yeah.
pride ourselves on 5-star reviews, and then dipping into my sphere, just because I hadn't done that other than for
Totally.
personal training and health and exercise. So,
Yeah.
so that came along. So a combination of all of that, but it took, for me, it took joining the right team with the just like-minded individuals, and the resources that were there to be able to put me in the position that I needed to grow.
Incredible. Incredible. So, and that's what I love about real estate is there's so many people that are sometimes trying to reinvent the wheel where it's like, oh, I'm going to try to go find this new way of doing things. When in reality, it's like, no, just learn from somebody that's already doing it. Like
Exactly.
that's the whole point in real estate hasn't changed. I mean, yes, technology has advanced, social media is great, but social media is just a way to leverage your business. When in reality, it's all about relationships and those 5-star reviews and giving an incredible experience to your clients. And so, over your hundreds of transactions you've done with investors, what would you say has been your biggest key to an incredible experience for your clients and growing that relationship to continue to expand your business?
Yeah, I think ultimately the one thing that it boils down to is giving the 5-star experience.
Yeah,
Um, I think that everything revolves around that one key element and that one key goal of, we want every transaction to be 5-star. Again, we work with, I still work with primary home buyers and sellers, and that has its repeat business.
yeah,
What's the average? Like every 7 years,
yeah,
somebody, but it's more so the referral. Whereas with investors, there's potential for someone to buy 7 properties a year.
totally.
So the 5-star review really comes into play, not only because we want to make sure the transaction goes as smooth as possible, not only for just because we want that deal to go well and our reputation is on the line, but also because it means more business for me, for Fire Realty. Ultimately it's just a building block. And I think a lot of it comes from just having that 5-star review. We know, with reviews now, it says a lot about a company, about an individual.
Totally.
And so if you have that to fall back on, we have all 5-star reviews. So being able to just simply say that, if somebody didn't believe it, they might go and look and see that it is true. And now that
Yeah.
is put right back into it. So
No, that's incredible. I think the proof is in the pudding, and social proof alone is extremely powerful when you can say, hey, no, like we got a book of business that we've crushed ever since the beginning. And especially when you're working with people that are first time home buyers, first time investors, or a high level client that knows what they're doing, you got to be on the ball for all of those situations because each person is relying heavily on you for specific things. And so that's super exciting that you're in that niche already. And so one question I have is, before you joined the team, what pushed you to go the team route rather than go solo? And I'm assuming it's been worth it, but I'm assuming there's a split involved or things like that. What kind of pushed you to jump that route?
yeah, good question. So for me, it was, again, I grew up an athlete. So always been in the team atmosphere. And I know for me personally, that helps push me to be where I want to be. Right.
Yeah.
And so I never played, so my primary sport was baseball, which is a pretty individual sport, but
Right.
it's not like running track.
Yeah.
I'm not an individual guy. There's a team behind me that there's a lot of different things that are going on. And so for
Uh-huh.
me, it was a pretty easy transition with that mentality already in place. I think that was part of it. The other part was, even though there was a split that maybe didn't look as favorable,
Mhm.
on paper up front, that split, even though less, still in my mind, I viewed it as more of an opportunity because more doors would be open and there would be more of that
Yeah.
opportunity for the split than maybe what I was going to do on my own from the very beginning without knowing what I was doing, having a team instead of, especially during COVID, at least, a lot of it is circumstantial too, where, we weren't really in person. So I
Yeah.
was working from home. If I was an individual, I didn't have anyone really to bounce ideas off of. I
Uh-huh.
don't know anybody even really at my brokerage office.
Yeah.
Uh, so, I didn't have anywhere to go. So that team was also, that part of it was also what was attractive to me.
For sure. And I think sometimes a lot of agents are like, okay, there's the solo route and then there's the team route. When in reality, you can mix both of those. You just have to find the right fit for you. But the point I want to make with that is, whatever you do, if you are a solo agent or if you are a team agent, having a community around you of like-minded individuals or agents working towards the same purpose is essential as a real estate agent, because this career by yourself is brutal. It's extremely challenging, and it's hard to be extremely successful when you yourself are just your own machine. You can't really excel at the level I think is necessary to keep up with the pace of the competitive business. And so, two agents that are debating team, going solo, what would you be recommending to them to do? And what are the benefits that you've seen?
Yeah. So for me, obviously I took the route of the team, and I do believe in the route of going with the team as opposed to starting solo. I
Yeah.
think that there is a lot to be said for having the team atmosphere, and I couldn't have said it better than what you said. I mean, there's so many different avenues that come in, and obviously, as a real estate agent, we're all entrepreneurs. There is that element of creating your own business. You're still responsible for whether it be, getting leads or keeping leads and making sure transactions close. That team element of having the like-minded individuals around you to not only help but also push you was huge.
Yeah.
So my recommendation would be exactly that. And even in I think the average of most, if you look at a team as opposed to an individual, maybe the team split is closer to like a 50-50 split.
Hmm.
My mindset with that would be 50% is better than 0% if I can't produce what I need to on my own. So having
Totally.
that there to start was a big cushion for me, and allowed me to kind of put myself in the position where, it's twofold. It's I'm still like, if the team is giving leads or the team has the resources, the help there, the transaction coordinators that are already there, that's a big element. Obviously dig into whatever the team is offering, because I mean, you could be spending more than whatever that split is to hire your own transaction coordinators and assistants and all of those things.
Yeah.
But that was a big piece for me. It was a comfort of, at least I have some of this business here. I'm
Mhm.
okay, and more than okay giving away some of this share just by being on the team and having this atmosphere and having the help around me. And I know that it'll just be a building block, like I said, to go bigger.
Yeah, totally. And I love how you put that. I mean, because it is totally person by person, where some people are in the mindset of, hey, I'm going to go out and grind and I want all of my business to be my own business, where other people are saying, I want help, whether that's a mentor, a team, a great brokerage, whatever it may be. And I'm okay making a smaller portion as long as it's more than zero. Because in reality, you could be an agent that sells 10 million a year on a team, or you could be a solo agent that sells 3 million a year and you're still making more on the team. And
Exactly.
so with that all being said, I want to dive into your business and what that looks like. 120 plus homes a year. What is your daily routine? How are you servicing this much business? what is your process from buyer consultation to offer to closing? Tell me, let's dive into that for a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of start with daily routine, because I do think that that is a big piece of the success that I've had so far, and I think it's going to be even a bigger piece of what success I see in the future. And so I've been a routine person my entire life. We actually have a 5-month-old, so for a small
Wow.
period of time, I was thrown off of that routine a little bit. But now that I've found it again, I mean, it just like I couldn't get out of a routine. So
Totally.
um, pretty much every day I wake up early, wake up around 5 a.m. Right away, I am diving into my devotionals. I dive into reading my Bible first thing in the morning, and that's a big mindset setter for me.
Cool.
And then from there, I try to read 10 to 20 pages a book a day. And that book will change, whether it's mindset related, whether it's business related, whether it is family, that changes. I have a list of books that I want to read for the year, and I try to get through 2 to 3 a month, whether it be reading or
Awesome.
actual audiobook. So the
Cool.
morning is my devotionals, my reading time. Then I immediately go to the gym. I work out for an hour a day. I try to get that done prior to jumping into emails and messaging with clients, because I want that morning piece to be it's basically the only time as a real estate agent, once you get busy, that you have to yourself.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I do that before, my wife and my daughter are up. So I get all that done, come back, spend a little bit of time with them. And then it's time to jump into the actual day.
Cool.
And so first thing I do is administrative transaction related. It's emails, it's text back to clients, it's getting, answering the things that I need to answer, working with the amount of investors that I do work with, and even just normal home buyers and sellers. It's typically when I'm looking on and off market at deals. So that's kind of like my deal analysis time
Yeah.
right after my admin. And I'm crunching numbers, running numbers, putting together, again, whether it's a primary home buyer or whether it's an investor, packaging that together, throwing it out. Again, before the busyness of the day, before you're dealing with the actual transaction itself. And then I spend my afternoon times on appointments, whether it is, meeting with clients, my consultation calls, whether it's going to showings, going to inspections. I made the mistake early on, and it's something that I've learned the busier that I get. I made the mistake early on of scheduling when it was convenient for everyone else.
Yeah.
And not tailoring my schedule to what fits me best.
Yeah.
And in this industry, you have the ability to do that, but you can very quickly lose that ability as well.
Most agents lose that ability and never get it back,
Yeah.
where their clients control them. They don't control their own schedule. And so I love how you made that point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I started to pick and choose when I was open for what, and everybody makes that work. If it can't work, we figure out a different alternative.
Yeah.
And being that I work with so many out-of-state investors as well, I do have systems and processes in place. Obviously, you're not flying in from Utah to do a 20-minute showing on a property. That's on
Yeah.
me. That's on me, the boots on the ground. So I have systems and processes in place too, where if it's between appointments or anything, I'm going to the property, I'm shooting a video for you to send to you. I'm talking my way through the entire thing, and all of that. So
Yeah.
really, really streamlining and streamlining the process of helping clients find what they need, but then also setting my schedule up to what's necessary for me and what's going to fit my schedule best. As far
Cool.
as kind of holding that all in, again, we have, at being on the team, we have transaction coordinators. So I do have to, I have to give them props where it's due, because they
Yeah.
are a massive help. At any point in time, so just over 120, you're looking at about 10 closings a month.
Yeah.
And so you're at, 2 or more a week, and it's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
So they help tremendously with that. And I've really learned to delegate the work that I do there. And it's, it's a learning process. There's always a learning process for both parties of that, but that's been a huge piece of that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, once you hit a certain point as a real estate agent and you're doing enough business, especially yourself, that's one thing I 100% recommend. And it's almost not even a recommendation. It's more so like you have to bring somebody on if you want to get to the next level. Once you're getting to the point where you're trying to decide between appointments and showings and writing contracts and stuff like that, that's when it's like, okay, I need to scale and bring somebody on if you're not on a team. And so, yeah, totally. Transaction coordinators need way more respect than I think we give them, because they help out a ton. And so with working with investors for agents that may want to get into that niche, or how to prospect in that sense, what has been your way of finding the majority of your clients that may have not come from a lead from the team, or outside of that? What prospecting habits do you have to increase your pipeline?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, at the beginning, a handful of it came from the team, and still does, because we're really well known. My team is really well known throughout the country for what we do, and that's working with investors. So that is a massive piece of it. As far as getting leads on my own, that has been, I can attribute that to referrals. And then obviously the repeat business from those clients. So, I mean, referrals are a huge one. Typically, an investor within their sphere hangs around people who are looking for what they should do with their money and where they can best park their money. So that's a huge piece. It goes back to that 5-star transaction. It's just realize that one deal for investors is not the one deal. It is multiple deals that year, could potentially be that year for that one buyer, but it's also a quick referral to somebody else. Not everyone needs to buy a home in life circumstances for a primary residence, but there will always be people who are looking for areas to park their money. So that's a big piece, just the referral piece of it. Every transaction has to be a 5-star review. Past that, I would say social media has taken on a good chunk of that as well. Just letting people know, that most people are well aware what I do. I mean, I'm posting on a pretty regular basis, and I bounce back and forth between, should I have a business and a personal account? Should I separate them? Should I keep them together? And I just decided I'm doing it all together, because I want people to realize that Nick as a person is who he is, and he also does real estate. And so I didn't want that to be two separate things.
No, I'd love that.
Yeah. And I think the social media piece of it as well has played a huge role. I'm also from this area. I'm from the Metro Detroit market. I grew up here. I've lived here my entire life. So I do have a sphere of people that I know and that I'm still well connected with. And for me, what I try to do is reconnect with people every 60 to 90 days, just a check-in, whether it is just a text message. It's not always best. I mean, for us as real estate agents, it's nice to be able to get on the phone at 10 o'clock and say, okay, for an hour, I'm going to start dialing, but most other people are at work. Totally. So I split it up, whatever works best. If I can communicate with you, if I don't get you on a call, then I'm going to text you right away, because that's probably going to be what's best for you. And if not, I'll follow up the next day. Every 60 to 90 days, reaching out to my sphere, just wanting to be involved in their life, not even to, they don't need the reminder that I'm in real estate. I'm sure as soon as they see Nick Harris come across their phone, that's probably one of the first things they think. So like, I don't have any conversation with that. If something leads to it, and inevitably it does, because they know what I do. But it's always just a check-in. How you doing? I want to stay top of mind, but also just be there for people, because again, what I'm trying to do in that conversation is to not only check on them, but also, that, and more often than not, if they're not ready to buy, if they don't want to invest, if they're not ready to sell, they do know someone. And until you have that conversation, it's not going to be.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting to compare my business to yours, because it's somewhat similar in the format of how we've used each type of prospecting, because a lot of agents think in the beginning, I just made a video about this, posted a little bit ago, about earning your sphere of influence, where you can't just become a real estate agent and expect those people around you to be like, okay, yeah, great, I'm going to use you. When in reality, it's like, no, that's just going to bother them and be like, you're just reaching out to me just to get a deal. When in reality, you went the route of grinding for your business, working with the team, of building that reputation of, yeah, I've done a lot of transactions, real estate's a part of my life, but I'm also a real human being, and you should work with me because of my past experiences. Where for me, I chose the door knocking route and built my business that way, but built off of that with social media and my sphere of influence. And now it's just grown to where it's referral. And that's a beautiful part about finding a mode of prospecting that you can scale quickly, because that's when you can get to a state of real estate where you're not super stressed about where your next deal is coming from. You have a big enough pipeline, you have a big enough track record of closed deals that if you just put in a couple hours of work, deals are going to pop up. And so for you, what's your goal with real estate? Where do you hope to take it? And what would be like your number one tip or advice for agents right now in this market?
Yeah. So where I want to be, it changes. I almost feel like it changes on a quarterly basis, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
My overall goal and reason why I wanted to get into real estate investing, number one, personally, was so that I could spend more time with my wife, with my daughter. Knowing that we were going to be, having a family soon, I wanted to be able to have that freedom, to not have to clock in and out every single day, and have the freedom to be able to travel and work remote if I needed to, and travel when I wanted. So that's a big piece of it. I still want that. I still want the ability to travel when we want to travel, and to be around my family and spend time and not miss anything there.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece of it. As far as the real estate agent side of things, I've never been afraid of work. So I'm going to continue to, bust my butt to get where I want to be from, a quarterly, annually, gross income. For me, it's kind of changing. Sometimes I want a amount of doors for the year. Other
Yeah.
times, say I just want to be able to have this much freedom throughout. I'm okay as long as I, make this much money and have this much freedom. So for
Totally.
me, it's changing. I would like to be in a position where overall goal where I'm making the sufficient income that I want to, not only to fund our lifestyle, our spending, our travel, but also our investments. We do have our portfolio of rental properties ourselves,
Yeah.
my wife and I, and so we want to continue that. And one of the big investment strategies we're going in now is we're actually going to be buying properties in 8 to 10 different states that we like to travel to and go to, spend a week or two out of the year at them, and then use them as a short-term or mid-term rental property throughout the rest of the year. So it's kind of twofold, being able to travel, but
Yeah.
also business. Um,
Genius.
yeah, so we're looking forward to starting that piece of our portfolio for sure. As far as in this market right now, and advice that I would give agents is the biggest thing is just, if you're a new agent, I think it's being a human being and connecting with people outside of real estate. Everyone is going to remember and going to know it's going to come up in conversation, because people love, you hear it all the time. People love talking about real estate. They love to throw their 2 cents in and their opinion.
Yep.
It's going to come up. I think the more personable you can be, and the more that you can relate to somebody, and just be a friend, the better your business is going to be in the long run. And I don't think, I think that means from the start, kind of diving into one or two things and doing it extraordinarily deep, and diving into that, as opposed to kind of being in all different areas, trying to touch everything. Get into one or
Yeah.
two things that you like doing. And in some cases, it really means maybe that you tolerate, because there are things that, to generate business that we just can't even tolerate. I don't
Sure.
necessarily recommend going that route, right? Test different things out, but find something that you like, or that you can tolerate well, and dive into it completely.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love how you're talking about the investing side of real estate as well as the grinding side of real estate, where real estate, the potential is insane. We all know that. It's a phenomenal business to be in. And the fact that while doing it, you learn how to build and create financial freedom is fantastic. And so a lot of agents are like, I just want it to be easy. I just want to sell a couple of properties, make a bunch of money, and invest in real estate. And it is what it is. When in reality, it's like, no, you got to do the hard side of it to get to the point where it's easy, where you can have rental properties, have cash flow, and have repeat business to the point where you don't have to worry as much. And so I love all of those tips. I appreciate you hopping on the call with me, man, and learning from me. It's been fantastic.